Hey guys, I hope everyone can hear me right now. We are going to go ahead and get started with the webinar today on ReadWorks. So if you've never used ReadWorks before, it's an application that teachers can use in their classroom to facilitate some reading. Let me start, by doing introductions. My name is LaShaka Wesley Hosier. I teach at South Garland High School. I am a social studies teacher. I teach economics and government to general ed level students. I am located in a portable, but I do have, of course, my iPad, the projector, my desktop, and then my Chromebook. Moderating our chat today is Rebecca Wadaka. So I'll go ahead and get started with ReadWorks. I really like ReadWorks. I use it in my government class more often than anything else, but it does allow you the capability to kind of sort by content. So if you've never used it before, you would come to the ReadWorks webpage and you would click I'm an educator. I have already logged in before, so I'm going to click educator login. So you can see that my credentials come up. Once you've logged in with your school email, you create your own password. Just click login and it will take you to this lovely dashboard. So from the dashboard, there's a lot of really awesome things that will help you sort your content or just help you select reading sheets. So right now I've got it on all topics, and you can see you can do it by grade. You can do it by Lexile level. You can also change the product to articles. You can do paired text, or they even have something called article a day text. And then you can change the text type from informational to literary. So for government, I normally do informational text. So you can start with just sorting by social studies, and it will take you through all of the passages that they have on social studies. You can see they have 2,665 items. You can do it for science. They have literary passages, and then they have some that are just supposed to help improve skills and strategies for students. And that's what this whole article a day set is about. And then they have special collections that are most often from museum pieces. So right now I'm going to clear out all of my selections. I'm going to go back to all topics. I'm going to sort by 11 to 12. So you can see if we're just looking for upperclassmen kind of titles or articles that they should be able to read, this is going to give me all topics, most of which are social studies related, but there's 161 items. So you can scroll down and you can find the passages or topics that you would like to read. We talked about the Voting Rights Act in government when we talked about civil rights. So if you click on the article, it does some really cool things. It'll tell you where the article comes from. It will give you the details on the article. So it'll tell you grade level, word count, Lexile level, and then it will give you the type of text as well. It brings up on this right-hand side here, vocabulary words that students might not know. And then it also pairs it with Common Core standards. Underneath all of the standards, there are related texts. So if I wanted to find other things with similar topics, it gives me related text or paired text. So anything that comes up with important civil rights legislation is going to be paired. Excuse me. And then you'll see there's a Selma to Montgomery March, the Civil Rights Act. All of those things are going to be along the same topic as the article that I have chosen. It gives you the option to play the article to have it read.
The Voting Rights Act, signed into law by President Lyndon Johnson, 1908-73, on August 6, 1965, aimed to overcome legal barriers at the state and local levels.
Now, obviously, that's not the most pleasant sounding reading, but it is good for our kids who may struggle, especially since this is kind of a higher Lexile level, to have the text be able to be read to them as they read along would help a lot. So this is something that I would assign to my students. I would ask them to read. It has some did you know quotes, and it explains a lot about what happened and why the Voting Rights Act was passed. And it's not super long. I mean, 775 words isn't a very long article. So this is something I could do in class to kind of help them get started on our topic. Now the kids, their screen looks a little different, but for the most part, they will see the same things we see. They won't see this panel on the right with the vocabulary and the standards, but they will see everything else. So it said that mandate was a vocabulary word. So if you click on vocabulary, it brings up mandate, and you can do the voice here as well.
Mandate.
If they don't know how to say that word, it gives you the Spanish conjugate. So if you have some ELLs, you might be able to relate the English vocabulary word with a similar Spanish conjugate, so they'll understand and be able to recognize that word in the future. And then it gives you examples of how the word is used. So international standards mandate that it be able to withstand high acceleration, deceleration, high and low temperatures, deep sea pressure, submersion in seawater, and other liquids. And it'll read those as well if the kids don't know or recognize some of those words. So I really like the fact that there are vocabulary words. Now, this article doesn't have very many, but there are other articles where there's 10 or 15 words that the kids may or may not know. And this is really helpful with that. In addition to the vocabulary words, you're also going to get a question set. So the question set is just based on comprehension. So obviously I can see the answers, the kids can't, or you can show or hide all of the answers if you want to see them all together. But this is nice to kind of give the kids this built-in question set, A, to make sure that they're comprehending, but B, it's an easy grade. I mean, honestly, if we're talking about ease and, kind of motivation to use these products and this application or website and how you can use it in your classroom, this is a great way. You can see I've got multiple choice up at the top. I've got a short answer, number 8 there in the middle. And then towards the bottom, you can see describe at least 2 ways Blacks were prevented from exercising their right to vote. I mean, that's a paragraph answer. So if we're working on literacy across the curriculum and trying to infuse writing into all of the subjects, you can see how easily that's done when you have things that are just going to do them for you. I mean, yes, I could have come up with my own questions, but it's nice that these are already here and I can just get them in there. So once you've found an article that you know that you like, you can make sure that you assign it to your kids. So you can add it to your list. So that's going to say, okay, great. If I want to come back to this and assign it later, like maybe we're not to that particular unit yet. Awesome. But here, if I assign it to my list, then I can assign it to my students. So it gives me the option to give them the article, and I always go ahead and give them the audio component as well, so that if they really want to, they can listen to it. And then I can decide if I want them to answer the comprehension questions, if I want them to add the vocabulary words in there. So if I think, wow, this has a lot of words my kids won't know, I can go ahead and put the vocabulary words in there, and it will automatically give them the definition. Then what's really cool about this is you can assign it to your entire class, and I'll show you guys how to add a class in a little bit. So if I wanted to add this to my government class, I would just change it to government, and I can either assign it to the whole class or I can assign it to specific students. Now, previously, I've printed this out for my kids so that we could do some annotated reading, but if you want them to read it online, you could do it that way. But that's why you see this no students in class, because my students haven't joined my class on ReadWorks. I've just used the articles as printouts. So you can, if you have specific students, you can click them. You can give your assignment a start date and a due date. So if it's something you want them to read over time, or if you're doing an article a day set, you can do that. And then you just click assign, and it's literally that easy. So then it tells you, okay, here's what we've assigned. We've given them the article. We've given them vocabulary support. We've enabled the audio in case you want it read. And we've given them the comprehension questions. It'll tell you who you've assigned it to. So, you know, if you've got some kids that need remediation, or if you've got the opposite of that, some GT kids that are ahead and you want to give them some supplemental activities, you can assign it this way. But I assigned mine to the whole class. It used today's date as the start date, and it gave them quite a long time to get this assignment done. But you can change those dates to whatever you want it to be. So if you click OK, it's just going to clear this screen. I'm going to click Go to Assignments so you can see what that will look like. So up across the top, in addition to the Find Content, which is where we went to find that article, you've got My List. And if I click on My List, you can see articles that I have saved or paired. Most of them, like I said, are all about government. So you can find those, and then you can find assignments and progress. So it will show you if there are any current assignments, meaning the ones the kids have actually started. It will show you future assignments if you assign something in the future, and it will show you past assignments, which mine is taking a long time to load. So we're just going to reload it again because I should have some past assignments in there. No? Oh, sorry. I'm in the wrong class. Over here, you have to change the class to government, and then you'll see my past assignments for government when we talked about the Electoral College. This one was a little bit below senior grade level, but it still worked for what I needed it to do that day. So if I wanted to, here are no future assignments, but here are the current assignments. And then once you have the students reading, it will show you their student progress. So you can see their reading levels. If they're answering the comprehension questions, it will grade it for you, which is nice. The vocabulary activities, if there's any paired text, skills and strategy questions, which are not comprehension, but based on like what paragraph can you find this information in, or where is this, or what word matches with that kind of deal. So on past assignments, it'll give you the option. And when you create a class, it will give you the same option. It will tell you invite students to join your class. So it gives you instructions on how to do that. The easiest option for me would be to put this on the board. So if I said, okay, I want my students to go to this particular website, okay, or you can even copy the link and send it out through Google Classroom. Make sure they sign in with their Google account, which is easy enough since all of the students have one. It will give you a class code. So similar to Google Classroom, the students will type in their code, and then once they're part of your class, they'll be able to access your assignment, which makes it super, super easy. Okay, so up here where it says class admin, to create a class, you're just going to click on create class. You're going to have to enter the grade level for the class. So 11 to 12, and I would like to create economics A4, and then just click next. And then it'll tell you, boom, now that you've created the class, you can do it this way. So you can invite them with Google, which is the best option for students with Google accounts, which is what we have, which is what I would recommend. Or you can add the student's name to a roster and give them their class code. And that is for students without Google accounts. But that just makes it a little more difficult for you. So why not pick the one with the Google account, right? So we're going to click invite students with Google. And then it tells you, again, I would just put this on the board. There obviously are no students in my class yet since I just created it, but you can add more students and it'll put their information up on the board, or you could just put this on the board, how to get students to their assignments. Have the students go in here, sign in with their account, and then they enter this class code. And it will do it that way. So if I, gave my A3 class something that I didn't give my A4 class, or maybe I wanted them to read a different article on a different day, I can still do that and have it do whatever I want. So let's say I misspelled the name, or I want to change the period number or whatever. Okay, we can rename the class. We can look at assignment settings. So if I want the students to be able to copy and paste from articles, I would leave this checked. I am not about the copy and paste life. I don't think they should be able to do that. So I'm going to uncheck that so that they no longer have that function. I can lock the class. So if I don't want anyone else to join the class, I can lock it. And then what's really cool is you can add a co-teacher. So if I had a SPED teacher that was coming in to work with my kids, or I wanted them to be able to access their readings without having to depend on me. I can type in their email address and add them as a co-teacher. Once they get the email notification, I will obviously get a notification saying, hey, this person accepted your invite. And then they'll have access as well. And they'll be able to assign articles the same way you can. So it's really awesome if you have a teacher, a co-teacher, not necessarily in your classroom, but just a peer teacher that teaches a similar subject or the same subject. So you can share resources that way. The only downside to that is you can only add one co-teacher per class. But, you know, for the most part, I only have one SPED facilitator anyway. Backup and options, you can archive the class. So if I had classes from last year and I just kind of wanted to archive them, or from last semester, since I teach semester classes, I could do that. Or you can delete the class. Okay, so when we're looking at the other options up here, it gives you a donate option. ReadWorks is obviously free and connects to Google Classroom and all of the fun things. So it does give you the option to donate, but again, that's only if you really want to. The teaching tips are kind of cool because they show you how the ReadWorks article a day works. They show you what step reads are. They'll tell you all about paired text. They give you some extra support for ELLs, what the audio function is, and the nonfiction and literary articles. So if I was really interested in getting some ELL support, I could click on this and it'll tell me, hey, you should try Article a Day. And it tells you what it is. And it's basically, you know, 10 minutes a day that the kids spend reading. And it encourages them to continue to read, but it also helps build a lot of those skills with fluency, comprehension, word recognition. So it's made up of 4 steps, and they're designed to include basically any struggling reader, specifically ELL and SPED. So it'll tell you the 4 steps if you click on that, and then it'll tell you how you can differentiate in your classroom. So you can do the audio versions, which I always add, even if I don't think any of my kids will use them. Some of the kids just like listening to their articles or books or whatever they're reading. You can do translated dictations and purpose with audio. You can add writing support, and then it'll tell you how to turn those features on. So if you know this is something you really wanted to add for your class, you can do that. And ReadWorks does a very good job of making sure that they have video tutorials to show you guys things. So here is ReadWorks Article a Day in 4 simple steps.
ReadWorks Article a Day in 4 simple steps. Article a Day is a simple daily routine where students read one high-quality nonfiction article every day as part of a weekly, topically related article set. Article a Day is for students in kindergarten to 8th grade. This version is for independent readers in 2nd to 8th.
Okay, so we don't have to watch the whole video. If you want to watch it, by all means, go back, find it, let everyone know, or let your students know what you're doing. I know it says for kindergarten to 8th grade, but we all know even at the high school level, I have some struggling readers, or definitely my ELLs who already struggle with English. They have a hard time reading any of these articles. So you can find articles that are on a lower Lexile level to kind of facilitate their introduction as a beginner reader and beginner ELL, so that they're not frustrated, and give them kind of that sense of success. We'll go back to find content. If I wanted to search for something specific, so if I knew that I was going to start talking about money, I don't know if they have money articles. So here you can see when an article is part of an article a day set, it will come up and it will show you, hey, this is part of what it is. And this one is obviously geared towards kindergarten. That's what the K means. And the article ranges from 330 to 450 for Lexile levels. I probably wouldn't go that low. I would go down to maybe 6th or 7th, but it all depends on you and your readers. And I know we have every age range teacher here in the district. So, if you've got an elementary classroom and you want to start that article a day, go right ahead. So it brings up a lot of articles all about money. It brings up trade, budgeting. And then it brings up articles that discuss the value of money. So you can see like World War I and the Great Depression, that's obviously more towards history as opposed to economics, but it'll tell you that there's a question set and a vocab set. So even when you're looking at this quick list to kind of see what matches, it'll give you grade level, Lexile level, how many words, what type of text, and then it'll give you the perks of that. I call them perks of that particular article. So like for this one, the US Mint doesn't have any questions and it doesn't have any vocabulary words, but you can see it's only 134 words long. So that one's just kind of like, hey, this is what the Mint is. To me, that's more like a definition rather than an article that I would want them to read. There are longer ones, there are shorter ones, and you can really do whatever works for you and your classroom. And I use these most of the time as like an introductory topic starter. So if I say, okay, guys, we're going to start reading about civil rights, or we're going to start talking about public policy, or we're going to start talking about this, there are tons and tons of articles. And I really like that they have it sorted by kind of content domain. But what I find is even in, like, if I look at the social studies ones, for instance, I can sort it and say, okay, I just want to look at the civics and government ones that you have. Let me take out money as my search tool there. So it'll bring up all of the things. And then once you get your topic, you can do grade level. And then you can decide what you want it to be with differentiation question set. So if you only want articles with question sets, click on that and boom, it'll bring up whatever you want. So you set the search parameters and it really is super helpful. And then they have lessons and units. These are print only, but you can go through and say, okay, I want to just look at skills and strategies because I want to build this type of thing, these skills in my students. So I want them to be able to figure out the main idea of something. So you can go, and this one only goes up to 6th grade, but if you click on the 6th grade unit, it will help you select reading passages or units to work on main ideas, or if I want them to be able to draw conclusions, or if I want them to compare and contrast. All of these are only going to go up to, 6th grade. But like I said, you do what works for your classroom. So if we click on Watson's Go to Birmingham, why are you not opening? Okay, you're not. I'm having a user error, obviously, but hey, here we go. You can click on any of the things. And since it is the classic, like you download it. You can download it as Word or you can download it as a PDF. But once you have it downloaded, then you can print it. So I like to print them so the kids can work on them. And even when they're printed, you can see they've got the vocabulary words here at the bottom. And of course it is cited. So your kids see that, if we're using something from the internet, we do cite that. The vocabulary words also have the definition. This is a shorter one, but it does have a graph in there. So if you're working, or not a graph, a comparison chart between a falcon and a bald eagle. So if you're working on being able to discern information, aside from reading, but if we're looking at any of the graphs or charts or tables or maps, whatever, that kind of skill, it also includes that. Okay, so we'll go back to ReadWorks. That's pretty much it. I really like using this in my classroom. If you have any questions, you can definitely put them up in the chat. Let me know. I'll be more than happy to help you. If you need help with anything in the meantime or after the webinar, you can always email me, ldwesley@garlandisd.net, or you can come visit me at South. I love having visitors. I'm going to leave it up for just a few more minutes on the questions, and in case anybody wants to